Hello, I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, 2049 Outfitters.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 12 noon on Saturday in Hong Kong. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California. We got a comment already. That gives me a minute to go and do this.
Hi, Cliff.
Hey, Cliff. Well, I might need to know. I don't know. So, yeah, it was an interesting study to learn that over 80% of our viewers, do not subscribe. So consider this: if you've watched 2 episodes, maybe you want to subscribe. That's all for that. Guess I'll go back to the notes if I can find them. There you go.
Okay. No real cybersecurity news. I mean, there is stuff happening, but nothing that's.
Oh, how to go to space? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing tonight.
Yeah. So there's no cybersecurity news that's really actionable right now. But one of the things that I started thinking about, is kind of off topic for here. But I do talk about cybersecurity occasionally. Would you guys like me to discuss what AI, artificial intelligence, actually is in a future episode? Separate, what it really, how it works, versus what science fiction makes us think it is.
Oh, hey, thank you for
Janie.
subscribing, Janie. We really appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's a great topic. You let us know in the comments, though, if you would like to know about AI, otherwise known as artificial intelligence. We got Scott too.
Scott says, I hope it doesn't get so bad for me down here on Earth that I have to go into space.
Well, there's no shopping centers out there yet, so it's pretty good here.
No plumbers either, actually.
No plumbing.
Yeah. Well, there is, but they have PhDs doing the plumbing.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So thank you for the feedback.
Yeah,
I think that would make a great episode.
Okay. Not next week, but in a future episode, I'll talk about AI and what it really is and what it actually doesn't do well. Because there are myths about that too, that the marketing for it is a little bit hyped.
Thanks, Cliff.
Yeah.
He was a subscriber before the live shows, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You're up. So we started a new category called How To. This is the first episode in that series, and it's how to prepare yourself for space travel. We'll be back in 8.3 seconds. Okay, a bit of errata. Last week, we mentioned that this episode is based on a 4-part article in Pam's blog.
That was my bad.
Yeah, it's 5 parts.
It's 5 parts.
Also, we both wrote these. Pam wrote the first 2, and I wrote the last 3. and that was late 2020.
No, 12.
2012, yes.
12.
Yes.
12 years ago.
Yeah, 12 years ago. So a little bit dated, I think. But
we'll see.
So, are you aiming for the stars? Are you ready? How do you get ready to travel in space? We'll tell you what we came up with. Please share your ideas as well. This episode is based on a 5-part article from the Everyday Spacer blog about preparing yourself for space travel. Tonight, we'll dig into that series a bit and see if anything has changed since the publication of those articles. We kind of covered that already. There are obvious ways to prepare for space travel: becoming an aerospace engineer, taking astronaut training, etc.
I don't know if becoming an aerospace engineer would get you that, but
yeah,
it certainly gets you close.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about tonight.
So in the early 90s, I was at Cleveland State University for a year, and I wrote a paper for a class. What I wrote is finally coming true. I pointed out that our path to space travel would model steps that affordable commercial flights took. So in broad strokes, we first had the pioneers, and this was like the Wright brothers doing all the tinkering and trying things out, and they would fly, but it was kind of like just very, very brief and very low. It wasn't, extremely useful to go from here to a couple hundred feet, 5 feet off the ground, but eventually it did lead to the barnstormers, who were the kind of risk takers, and they were improving on the planes all the time, and they really did a lot of things that most people wouldn't do, I don't think. And then the rich people took trips, and if you have some of this information too. But regular folks eventually were able to, because of all of this, take trips on an airline.
Yeah. And the early barnstormers, I think the majority of them were former World War I pilots.
Oh, okay.
Basically because they had the training to do it first, and they knew how to fly them already.
Oh, but got it. Okay, I didn't know that.
And Janie says, not Girl Scout ready for space travel. Highway travel is enough.
Yeah, around here.
Yeah.
Janie's also in Southern California, so
yeah,
it's the cheapest thrill you can have.
Yeah.
You suddenly stopping at high speeds.
Yes. So when Pam was talking about this before, I thought cars and computers took a similar trajectory.
And I didn't realize about cars. I kind of knew about computers.
Yeah, because cars were rich guys' tinker toys. Then people raced them.
Okay.
And then well-off people could afford cars.
Makes sense.
And then they made cars for everyone.
Yeah, because I think at first they were pretty expensive because
yeah,
there wasn't mass production.
Well, in fact, the first cars were one-offs.
That makes sense.
It was Henry Ford that kind of started building them on a assembly line.
Right.
And Henry Ford did not invent the assembly line.
Oh,
he just was the first to use it for cars.
Ah, okay. What was being done assembly line wise before that? I guess the guns. Who is it?
I don't know if it was Colt, but it was one of them.
No, it was the other one. Starts with a W.
Winchester.
Was it Winchester? Anyway, I remember that they were also one-offs, and getting replacement parts was hard, and so eventually they sort of standardized things.
Right. Yeah.
Which actually makes a lot of things work. Cars, computers. You could swap out, all kinds of different parts.
And if you think about it right now, before Elon Musk, arguably before the space shuttle, but that all spacecraft were one-offs. There was no assembly line for them.
And they basically...
Even the space shuttle...
got rid of them.
Yeah.
After
done. Even the space shuttle was kind of one-off built. They weren't built on an assembly line.
No.
They weren't looking at ease of production or expensive production when they made them.
Yeah, even when they came back, they had to pretty much redo them from end to end and replace lots and lots of different parts. And like the tiles on the underside of the shuttle were each one was kind of unique.
Each one of them was unique.
Yeah.
I mean, if there were any two that were the same, it's because they were on opposite sides of the aircraft and it was, symmetrical. But but now Elon Musk pretty much has an assembly line going.
Yeah, I think the Russians were doing somewhat assembly line rockets, but everything that they built like tanks.
Right, yeah.
I mean, they really had an amazing, cadence of launches for a long time.
Yeah, and computers did something similar. I mean, the first computers were in universities, and they were basically just exploring what a computer was. Then they had computers that the biggest companies could afford. I mean, you were a big deal if your company had a computer and
it filled a room.
Yeah, and had a floor of their building dedicated to it. And then smaller businesses were able to afford them. I mean, medium-sized businesses could afford them. Then the old Heath kit, and then Apple made computers that the average person, the average somewhat well-off person could afford.
Yeah, those first Apple computers
it
were
was
pretty
it was
pricey.
still it was a $1,000 to $2,000 back then, which made it really darn pricey. But you could afford it. I mean, some people could afford it. 1 out of 10 maybe could afford it. And now they have computers that, quite frankly,
yeah, your phone, absolutely.
There, computer.
More powerful than any of them they had in the spaceships when they first got to the moon and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, take heart, because if you think about how likely it is you can purchase a plane ticket and take a flight most anywhere in the world right now, that pattern is going to come to space flights. We're watching it happen basically in real time to space travel right now. And I think the closer it gets, the more likely we'll have a shot at taking that trip as regular folks. So in the Everyday Spacer blog, let me go ahead and give you this exact. Well, this has got the page with the numbered items. Someone suggested doing numbered items. Okay, where? Oh, that's how it went. There it is. Should be a clickable link in the comments. You can see the page, and let me go there too.
Oh.
Let me get there. Share screen.
Okay. Oh, first things first.
Oh, sure.
Cliff says herringbone fitted for max performance on all the tiles. Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Okay. So go ahead and share.
Okay.
Because I've created, what was at the top? On the Everyday Spacer blog, I did go ahead and share the.
Oh, there we go.
There it is. Yay. I went and created this list of numbered items. Someone suggested making them numbered so people would look for them. It's under the useful links, jump to numbered items. And as you can probably see down here a little ways, we've got our several parts series, but these are the prepare yourself for space travel 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
You've conveniently color coded them for people.
It just so happens I went to them. And in the first part of this, I kind of just started to summarize things. What are we going to look at? And there's a whole bunch of different things, including like financial, mental, being prepared in several different ways, physically, emotionally. So yeah, this kind of just starts the process of what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? And I don't think I'm going to read too much of these because it is quite old, and there's a lot of these links are broken. Some of these links are some
well,
are
as
so
you can see along the side there, but
yeah, I have to fix those someday. But they still work. It just doesn't show the picture.
I don't think reading them to people is because they got the link now. They can read them their own self.
Exactly. And so one of the things I do want to reference, though, is this list of space travelers by name, because this one has been kept up, and it's a pretty cool Wikipedia page. In fact, I'm thinking, this will be a great place to find more profile episodes.
Cliff has.
Hi. Yeah.
He actually met people that put the tiles on.
Oh, very cool. And this is funny. It's got this key on how it works up here, but then you'll see a whole list of who went, when they went, what the vehicle was, all these, and there's little codes that you'll see up further. So that's going to be a really cool list that we'll be able to find new folks to talk about. Again, that's on that jump to number pages, and this has the list of space travelers by name. It is a little bit overcome by events, but in the second part, I do delve into a little bit about what it is. How do you do this? Do you have the right stuff? What does it mean? How do you fit into a team emotionally? You can actually start to do these right now before you even go. And I think some of this is actually still pretty pertinent. I was looking up, and I have some tabs a little later, and I was like, some of the same things actually do apply. Learn things as much as you can. And with the internet, it's getting easier and easier. There's some fun stuff to look at, but I don't know if this link is still good. Some of these aren't. Khan Academy is still around, definitely. A couple of these weren't quite right anymore. And you just do stuff that it interests you. And let's see, like here's a really good book, The Richest Man in Babylon. I have read this over a dozen times now. I highly recommend it. It certainly prepares you in your thinking mindset. Is a lot, has a lot to do with getting ready for things. Another great book is Abundance. It's by Dr. Peter Diamandis, total space geek.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is this folks. I think these were the people that were preparing themselves back then. And let's go to the wiki page. No, this is an article. Okay, I see. There's a book called Rich Woman by Kim Kiyosaki. And yeah, there's definitely some different things to think about in terms of getting ready right now, and pretty easy to do, really. So do you want to take over the part three?
Yep. So why don't you get to swap this over?
You got it?
Yep.
Oh, no. Am I adding this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's confusing because we're both referencing the same blog, so they look
Yes.
the same. So,
bear with us.
Oh, and that's part 4. We want part 3. There's part 3. I was thinking games are a great way to prepare for something. You know, you practice. You know, practice your thinking, practicing your instincts. So
it's sort of a simulation,
right? And board games are some help, but I haven't found any that are really good for this. I mean, there's something called Lunar Rails. It's good for like just playing around with space stuff. It's like a railroad builder game, but assumes that you're on the moon building it. Not, you know,
it's not terrible.
Not terrible. But I found that role-playing games, RPGs, actually let you do more. It has a better fit for figuring out what to do in space.
Okay.
And some of the RPGs are pretty cinematic. You know, like Star Wars and Star Trek both have games. I don't know if anyone knew that. And we can show the. That's going to be awkward to bounce back and forth.
They're on my computer, so maybe we'll do them after you're done with that segment. But I forgot this part for part 2.
Yeah. So
we're doing good.
Star Wars, Star Trek. Hey.
You ready for comments? Because Cliff said, I think I can see a movie title there, like Moonraker, James Bond.
Yep. That actually came somewhat close.
Oh.
Yeah. But.
Yeah. And we have someone new. Thanks for being with us. Red Angel Lover $. Yesterday was Space Shuttle Discovery STS-41D mission launch day. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very cool.
Yeah. The one that I like the best right now is GURP Space. Mostly because the GURP system is based on realistic stuff. Well, they can go from realistic to cinematic, but their go-to is, does that actually work, or could that actually work, or how would that work?
Got it.
So I actually have this, and I'm not going to go through the book, but I just wanted to show the table of contents here.
Looks pretty thorough.
Yeah, and realism, basically when you're doing the game, you select your amount of realism, but they have stuff like reaction drives, the rocket equation. Yes, they get into that. Simple delta V requirements. So in the game, you would have to make your spaceship so that you could get out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, there's a really lot of work behind this. Yeah, it's clear.
And then they talk about beyond reaction drives, solar sails, catapults and tethers. Yeah, so they get into that. Then they get into the woo-woo stuff of hyperdrive, jump drive, that sort of thing. But they would, in shipboard systems, control systems, life support, gravity, basically building all of this stuff. And it isn't necessarily necessary for the game itself, but if you want to do a fairly hard science game, and maybe break it with some FTL
Mm.
fairy dust. But use it's the Star Trek method of FTL's job is to get you where the story is.
A little bit hand waving in there.
Right, yeah. But they also then talk about how to place, star systems, etc. And so how to build a realistic climate, how to, so they get into a lot of the stuff. So you can game in this, and it forces you to actually look up stuff. This is a good way of finding out what you don't know, and to dig into it. And
yeah, even going through the processes mentally is, I think, is pretty good. And
right.
Then of course you have to make it work. So.
Oh, let's see.
Yes. So Red Angel, I like Judy Resnick all the time. Again and again. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Terrible tragedy. We lost her.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So that was that's games. This, like I said, I highly recommend this. It talks about a bunch of different stuff space wise and lets you get a fairly realistic type of space.
So you want to share this one because we've got some examples of Star Wars. Oh, you want to go back in?
Hang on. I can't control anything while I'm looking at my stuff. Okay. Here we go. At the stage.
Yeah. So here's the Star Wars role-playing game. And then there's the Star Trek role-playing game.
Yeah.
And these are books. Basically, they're books. And you read them and you learn the different aspects.
And
there's
basically,
GURPS.
You play characters within it, not necessarily the main characters. And GURPS. And
Traveler.
Traveler, I didn't mention that one. It's actually one of the oldest. But it's kind of halfway between, like, say, running a Star Trek game and running a GURPS game.
Oh.
As far as realism goes.
Okay.
They put some nod toward realism. Like, the weapons they try to get fairly realistic with. But it's not, not really, all that realistic. And the way the gameplay itself is fairly aged.
Got it. So I want to go back to the part 2 because now I can read my notes. So the idea there was to learn things that might be useful to the industry and maybe figure out the money part. And I say maybe because several people were actually sponsored to take some trips in recent years. Even Helen Sharman got to go to Mir Space Station on a sponsored trip. And that was ages ago. There's a wonderful film with her. And she's got this beautiful, fluffy pink chiffon dress coming up through one of the hatches. Did you see that movie?
Yeah.
That was really neat.
Yep.
So, okay, you going to go on to part 4?
Yeah. Actually, one final thing to add for games. And it didn't exist. Oh, it did exist, but I didn't think of it back then, 12 years ago. There's a computer game called Aurora.
Aurora, yeah. Well, did you know about it 12 years ago?
I might have, but it was very new back then. And that's also
That's online, right?
No, well, you can download it and you run it on your computer.
Oh, I see.
It's actually free to download. And it gets fairly realistic about it. Well, he tries for realism, but then he has FTL and, so it's not, but some of the discussions, if you go on his blog, talk about realism in, like, space battle. A laser, unless you're really, really close, is a flashlight.
Okay.
Essentially, as the beam spreads, even though you think a laser stays focused, not over those distances, not over, any real distances. So, so they get into it, how no space combat that doesn't involve missiles that you've ever seen is realistic. Because lasers actually generally produce more heat than they impart on the shooting vessel than they impart on the target vessel. And unless you're close enough for the laser to make a small enough spot to actually punch through something, all you're doing is heating the target.
Yeah, what's the one with Honor Harrington? Those are good. In fact, that
Yeah.
brings us into part 4 if you're
Yeah.
ready for that.
Yeah.
There's a great series about a character named Honor Harrington. And
David Weber.
Yeah, David Weber. And they go into amazing detail. He writes amazing detail about actual space battles.
Right. Yeah.
And I think there's a little hand waving there too, because of course
there's a lot of hand waving.
Yeah, we don't really know, and the technology will change and develop.
Well, they're using gravity drive and stuff like that. So, there's hand wave. And here's the thing: it was all set up so that the space battles would operate like naval Age of Sail battles.
Ah, okay.
So,
but they are very compelling stories. I've read a real lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
Now. Maybe there's more now. I don't know.
Yeah, there probably are. So
yeah, part 4. He's wanted to talk about. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you got it.
Yep.
Great.
Although now I need to get so that I can see it. Okay. Part 4. Read what I called travel guides about the destination, and that's reading, space travel excerpts for biographies, but more specifically, older science fiction. And at the time, there wasn't any modern science fiction that was really hard science fiction talking about space travel. But the stuff Heinlein, Clark, Lee Corey, George O. Smith, different from E.E. Doc Smith. George O. Smith was an engineer, and his complete Venus Equilateral basically assumes one thing that's, that doesn't really work, but he just assumed this one thing, and everything was based off of that. But he assumed, so, but all of the other stuff in it was realistic. Assuming this one thing worked was the science behind it.
It was consistent.
It was consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, he would make things that break society, and then instead of hand waving it away, has it break society. And then he figures out, how do you get society back after that broke it? So in fact, he created the transporters that work exactly the way Star Trek works.
Oh.
Long before Star Trek.
Interesting.
Which is probably how Star Trek got them.
Red Angel wants to say Rocky Horror Picture Show of 1975. Oh, TCF? What's TCF? 1975 actor Barney Bostic acting astronaut Dick Scobie character in Challenger 1990 was so not good. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. So a lot of these older ones, and then Pam mentioned, David Weber's stuff, and there's some modern stuff that's fairly good, but in fact,
actually, we just had Steve Eckroyd on the show a few weeks ago, and here's the thing: they're scientists, they're engineers, and they're writing science fiction. I think that changes things a little bit because they do understand the science. Sometimes they extrapolate it, sometimes it comes out, sometimes it doesn't. I think Clark's, a lot of the things that Arthur C. Clarke wrote are kind of happening.
Yeah. Clark was a physicist, and he wrote about satellites. He wrote about, he wrote about communication satellites. He wrote about radar.
I think Asimov should be on that list too.
Yeah. He was more about some of his really early stuff, yes. But most of the stories were more about the people and not about the, so, and Heinlein's kind of in that boat too. I just didn't think of Asimov. But also, Hal Clement was, fairly, was fairly realistic in his writing.
I like the mind expanding aspect of it, because you can sit there and go, oh, isn't that interesting? And it's very different from any other kind of writing. Science fiction definitely takes you places that you wouldn't normally go. Comment, you ready for that?
Sure.
Cliff goes, I sent a book about every shuttle missions that got here in Oz and donated it to the American Astronaut Museum last week.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah. Now more people can enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cliff or Scott says,
Oh, Cliff, that is cool. Thanks.
So, yeah. So, look for hard science fiction writers because they talk about it. I mean, the older stuff, some of it's not really relevant anymore, but it's the way of thinking. And I think it was Asimov that wrote The Cold Equation,
Oh.
which is about the young girl who basically sneaks onto a ship.
They did a movie about that recently.
Yeah, it's fairly recent. Yeah,
I think it's got a different title.
Yeah, and basically had to talk about, they had her do the math about how her added mass, would basically prevent this thing from.
Yeah, I think in the case of the story, it was a medical run.
And that's,
and they had just enough fuel to get there and get back and do the job. And because she was a stowaway, it changed things. And basically, they had to eject her.
Yeah.
Out the airlock.
Yeah.
Because the mission would fail.
Yep.
Which seems odd because out in space, there's no real resistance. So.
Well, no, but the acceleration, they already burned extra fuel accelerating it. Now they have to decelerate it. Then they have to accelerate again and decelerate again.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Yeah, very, very cold calculating story in that case. But
yeah.
So, you got more for this chapter? This part?
Not really. It goes into, reading. Oh, in each of these, we talk about the requirements for the suggestion. And like I talked about, reading may be required unless there's a recording of the book. And this was before books on tape were hugely common.
Mm-hmm.
So the last one that I had written.
You want to hear what
Sure.
Cliff has to say? Who would ever think of rockets land on their ass?
Well, actually, most of the early science fiction thought that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Almost all early science fiction assumed that rockets would land on their tails. And it was, Cliff says.
Yeah, in the movies, not real.
Yeah. Well, and in a lot of the science fiction. I mean, Andre Norton wrote a lot of space-based science fiction. Couldn't call any of it in any way realistic, but she did make some interesting worlds that people could visit. So that was interesting, but she just ignored the whole speed of light limit and just figured you push it harder, it goes faster, and that's all. Yeah. So
we keep learning.
Yeah. Oh, it was known then too. She just didn't care.
Okay. She is one of my favorite authors. Though,
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Because, well, at that point, almost none of Einstein's stuff was actually tested and proven. It was a theory, and even though it was probably right, she didn't care. So.
Got it. Ready for part 5?
Part 5.
I do like this, the whole concept of this one.
Yeah. So, yeah, writing is a great way to master any subject.
Yep.
And it has some of the same things of running an RPG because you're essentially writing episodes for the group that you're with. But writing it, sharing your knowledge is a great way to basically internalize your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And, explaining something to another person also explains it to yourself.
There's a good story in that article too.
Yeah. Basically about Niels Bohr, early physicist, once said about a sea voyage with Albert Einstein, because it's not like they had airlines back then. You got across the ocean on a boat.
Yep.
And I'm paraphrasing it because I don't know the exact quote.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere. Einstein explained his new theory of relativity to me every day of the Atlantic crossing. By the time we reached New York, Einstein understood his own theory.
He understood his own theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Cliff goes, Elon is doing a great job on new stuff.
Yeah, he is.
Yep.
In fact, he's pushing us in those steps that Pam talked about, he's got an assembly line going.
Yep.
He's hopefully going to make it from the very rich to just the well off.
Mm.
And so that's going to be good.
I think we'll still see that if we aren't, super old in this group, in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
In our lifetimes.
Yeah. So, that's it. And then I really like groups. So I mentioned that group space is a good way to help frame your story, because it has a set of rules that you have to stick to, and that you set up the rules in it. It helps you be, helps you be consistent. Oh, what's this?
You gotta tell me more about what you mean there. James, where do space cells go? Floating alone in space. How will space cell? Help me interpret that, please.
Yeah.
Any more about that part?
Not really. It goes more into it. Most can do it any age. And it just takes time. The main cost is time.
Yeah.
So that's all for there.
And since we wrote those articles, of course, we've produced this space show, and it's amazing how much you learn when you have to, get ready for the next episode. Yep. All those different profiles, I knew almost nothing about most of those people, and of course, there's people that I didn't know anything about. Thanks to Scott for actually mentioning one of the very first profile names that we took on, and
then Dawn's brought a couple to our attention too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
Cliff's got a bunch, and I can't wait to finish because I got a whole. They're all laid up. They're all set up. I think it's gonna be in our lifetime, especially if things keep going the way they go. I think there's an interesting term, accelerating acceleration. We kind of were in the doldrums for a while, but all of a sudden we had all this activity, and now there's a whole bunch of these groups now. We've got Blue Origin, we've got. And I thought Virgin Galactic was done, but I saw something earlier that was like, wait, are they still in business? I guess.
Yeah.
And of course, SpaceX. SpaceX is kind of the big one.
Yeah. Oh, another author, Jerry Purnell and Larry Niven.
Yeah.
Angel Fall was about, a space shuttle or, similar vehicle.
Okay.
Landing somewhere where it shouldn't have landed. But
that's how you get a story.
Yeah. So, but I thought about that. I was thinking about that because Purnell, I don't think he's the one who came up with this, but he's the one who told it to me. And I think he was quoting someone else, was talking about how our early space race was too fast, too soon. And it essentially killed space travel. Because
the things they did were unsustainable.
Right.
Throwing that much money and people
and doing it too fast.
Getting to the moon.
Yeah. Not learning
it's fairly singularly focused.
Right.
Now we have kind of a broad base of
we're kind of now
industry.
Doing what he talked about of you get up some satellites, and of course automated stuff wasn't really a big thing back then. So the assumption was then you put people in space to maintain the satellites and run them. Yeah. And once you're in low Earth orbit, then you go higher orbits, then you get to the moon. And, so it all could have, if we hadn't done the space race and just done organically, putting stuff in space that would help us on Earth, then, going farther and farther.
Yeah. Cause we pretty much saw it with cars where it was, sort of this nascent industry, and then they needed roads, and it really kind of built out and fleshed out in a natural way. And as you can see, we have cars everywhere.
Right.
And we have innovations and all kinds of different aspects to it that support it. Like right now, we couldn't take a ship out there and refuel it in orbit and then go beyond orbit.
Right.
We just don't have the infrastructure.
Right.
Cliff says, have you seen the difference between Raptor V1 and V3? So simplified. I saw that
SpaceX,
picture. Yeah. That was amazing.
Right. Yeah. And that's what doing it iteratively. And that's what Elon Musk is all about, doing it iteratively.
Fail forward fast.
Yeah.
I think watching science fiction is a great way. And of course, we've got space camps, and I know there's for kids, and I think there's actually for adults now too, right?
Well, Yeah, and there's a lot of online real space stuff. I mean, look at Anton. Look at, you
Right.
know, a lot of the space shows out
Yeah.
there that you can see.
And I didn't put on the list, but there are these there are astronaut where they'll go and they'll stay somewhere, and it's very remote, analog
Oh,
astronaut analogs.
yep.
So I think that's getting more and more. Like, they'll take volunteers. You don't have to pay for that necessarily. I mean, you have to get there and you have to support yourself some, but you can be part of that experiment. Oh, pillow knots too. We had Heather talking about pillow knots.
Hmm.
So there's lots and lots of ways to kind of train yourself up.
Hmm.
And you've got one here too. This right here.
Oh, yeah. You can participate in a site like Stack Exchange that has a space discussion group, although it's more of a question and answer group. So you post a question about anything to do with space or space travel, and people will answer it. And some of those people will answer it with this much calculation because they actually think about it.
Well, some of those people are
Yeah.
in the biz, right?
Oh, yeah.
They know the stuff.
Yeah, so there are some PhDs and PhD students on there. And so it's really interesting. In fact, a lot of the stuff from some of my earlier episodes here came from
Oh,
discussions there because
oh, no kidding.
I would ask, I would, well, first you search for the question because you don't want to re-ask the same question. They get kind of cranky about that on Stack Exchange.
Yeah.
But if no one's asked it or your version of it, then you post it and you can get some really good answers.
So I got a couple more comments, and then I found a few tabs on kind of the more new things that are happening. 2024, June 20th was astronaut Ilan Remon's Israel birthday, but nobody cannot remember him because of the space. I'm so sorry. Space Shuttle Columbia exploded. Okay. Entered the Earth's atmosphere 2023, February 1st. And Cliff says, yes, hello, wonderful person.
Yeah.
Hello, wonderful person.
Yep. Anton. Yep.
And I know some of the comments, somebody was like, hello, wonderful Anton. This is person. Pretty cute.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of these tabs that I found. And it's quite remarkable how some of the same things are in fact in play, like preparing yourself mentally and physically. So this is actually pretty recent, October 25th, 2023. Astronauts spend years training for missions, and I think they're talking about the ones who are hired by NASA. And yeah.
Oh, just scroll up.
Yes.
There's another thing that just occurred to me. Scroll up.
Oh, yeah, making models.
No, toys. Giving toys to kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like it.
Most of the people our generation, as we were kids, we had space toys because that's what we grew up with. I mean, I think that's that's just that's a good way of preparing the next generation.
Even this reminds me of building models. I mean, you actually, like, let's say you built a model of a V8 engine. You know how a V8 engine works after you build the model because you've put all the parts together. You've built them in the way that they're supposed to be to make an engine work.
Yeah, well, and I built a model of an Apollo capsule.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. So they talk about, this does present many challenges, technical, physical, and psychological. With more people having access to space travel than ever, successful and safe space flights require varying levels of preparation before launch day. For the government astronauts, that's NASA, cosmonauts, they do have an extensive, like in this case, 2-year training minimum, and lots of simulations in like very, very deep tanks of water with, space station mock-up things and its neutral buoyancy so that it actually works the same things, the way you move, the way the parts, change position. It's very, very similar to out in space.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when space training is there. See that door that goes to the outside? Don't open that. that to me is when we're like really into space.
So then they go on to, they do talk about regular folks going to prepare for the microgravity environment of space. Astronauts also, I think it's a little bit later on, they talk about regular folks participate in simulations of weightlessness. Here it is, parabolic flights. And you can actually do that yourself. You can pay to go on a 0G flight, and they will take you in what they call these parabolic loops. And you will have some seconds of what they consider
Microgravity.
weightlessness.
Yeah.
It's not exactly, but yeah, here is neutral buoyancy lab, the swimming pool where they practice. Yeah, and they wear the suits and everything. They take a lot of survival training, lots of different things.
And actually, technically, you are weightless in those. You're accelerating down the same speed that the airplane is accelerating down. Therefore, in your frame of reference.
See. Yes, in the frame of reference, right. Yeah, so there's all kinds of different trainings that like the astronauts, the official NASA type astronauts go through. And especially when they're going to be there for a long time. Most of the flights now for regular folks are up and down, or at the most a few days around and around the Earth.
Yeah, I mean, for those, they do have a bunch of training, which I don't understand because they're essentially passengers, and really what they need is before the flight, someone to get on the microphone and point out the emergency exits and how to buckle your seatbelt. I mean,
you're talking about flight attendants on airplanes, it sounds.
Yes.
Well, I think we're going to get there. Oh, we got, hey, Daniel, welcome. Nice to see you.
Knowledge is in every country the surest basis of public happiness. George Washington. Yeah.
I like it. And they're talking about for the NASA type astronauts, coming back is what's going to be a big deal for them. Maintain physical fitness is vital for them to counteract muscle and bone loss experienced in microgravity. They spend a lot of time pre-flight working out. At the same time, long duration missions can be mentally challenging given the prolonged isolation, confinement, and separation from family and friends. Not so hard on folks that just go up as tourists. Let's go. I think they call them commercial astronauts.
Yeah. Now, theoretically, the moon has just enough gravity to prevent that. However,
okay.
No one actually knows because no one can really test that. You can't put someone in a room with 1/6 Earth gravity and test it.
Yeah, even the simulations, you still have the full force of gravity on your body.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
They learn these are the NASA type astronauts learn strategies to manage stress, maintain psychological well-being, and work effectively in close environments with their fellow crew members. That's going to be a big deal too. You're in a tin can with a whole bunch of other people. Yeah, here it is. Commercial astronaut training is significantly less intensive than the training government-sponsored astronauts receive, since their missions are often of a shorter duration and focus more on providing safe and enjoyable flying experiences. While commercial crews may stay in space for shorter intervals, ranging from a few minutes for suborbital flight to several days or even weeks in the space station, government astronauts typically spend 6 months or more, and if you get stuck there, it's even longer, on someplace like the space station. Here's astronaut Frank Rubio recently set a record for the longest American space mission with 371 consecutive days in space. Cosmonaut Valerie, and he got stuck there when the wall came, or when Glasnost, right?
Well, no, he got stuck there when we started having arguments with the Soviet Union.
Oh, I see. So he was stuck there. All right, so let's see. And commercial astronauts, that's regular folks, often receive more generalized training that covers the basics of space travel, safety, emergency procedures. Anyone who spends prolonged periods will need to spend a lot of their day working out. Not so much if you're just going up for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Everyday activities can be challenging without gravity. Sleeping can be difficult. We hear about people who go up and get nauseous. It takes a period of time to adjust. And if you just go up and down, it's not so hard because you kind of just start feeling kind of funny because everything starts floating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My friend I met in Florida was a 747 pilot and has done the Vomit Comet.
Yeah, I bet he has lots of stories.
Yeah. Janie Becker, right? Riding public buses and riding in space travel, not for me so much. More advancement required for me to participate. Fun to think about, though.
Yes, I'm kind of with you. A little more advancement, please. And this article, I found this also. Okay, what happened here? Yeah, I found they kind of just rewrote this article on this phys.org, which is a very good site.
Yeah.
I just kind of went through this for you, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about. Oh, we need the magic one. Avada Kedavra. 13 things space tourists should know before traveling to space, according to astronauts. Oh, interesting.
Well, yeah, scroll past that because that's just bad stuff.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, it changes a little bit when we get into this other view. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there were a few people in the early 2000s. They paid millions to go. But, yeah, not everybody is. I think Wally and William Shatner were sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they paid to go on to the space flights that they took.
Right.
We are now on the cusp of a new era of space exploration. Yeah, do we have a comment?
Yeah. Daniel, a NASA's Vomit Comet plane produces weightlessness in 20 to 25 second intervals. The Blue Origin flights give participants about 69 seconds of free fall.
We're getting there.
Yep. And which are actually the Blue Origin ones are easier for the body to handle. What gets people with the Vomit Comet is the repetition.
Yeah.
Is
up and down, up and down, up and
down.
Yeah,
it's usually the second to fourth repetition of this that people lose their cookies.
I see. And in this one, they said they talked to former NASA astronauts to get their tips on first-time space flight participants. During his 15 years with NASA, Chow participated in 4 missions: 3 aboard the space station and 1 to the ISS, which he served as commander. Parazynski worked at NASA for 17 years, flying 5 shuttle missions throughout his career. So yeah, I think the one thing too is that if you're a commercial or a tourist kind of an astronaut, you're gonna be a passenger.
You're an airline pilot or airline passenger.
Yeah, it's just enjoy yourself.
And don't endanger everyone else by doing something stupid.
Well, one of them said, you got like 2 jobs. Have fun and don't kick somebody in the head.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of these quick up and down.
Oh, that's where it says.
Oh, you won't have any responsibility other than to enjoy the experience and not kick anyone in the head. There it is. Yeah. Yeah, your obligation is pretty straightforward. You don't have to know too much in terms of running the thing, emergency situations. You're really just there for the ride. You're taking a ride.
Because it's not like you even need to know the emergency exits because you're safer inside.
Yeah. And so the training is pretty minimal. But I think there is some training, and I've like if I had a space line, I'd make it a whole experience. I mean, you definitely want people to get prepared for it in all sorts of ways, including anticipation.
Right.
I think anticipation goes a long way.
And just basically getting stuff out of the way so that they can spend more time enjoying it.
Yeah. Plus, there's all the pictures that you need for any kind of experience like that. So let's see.
But if we ever get into suborbitals as just a way of getting to some place, then you won't need all of that stuff, and you won't even really want it. You will want to get to the port, get on your vehicle, get to your destination
in 45 minutes.
Yeah, and get to your transportation out of there. So
which will take longer on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, pay attention during your training, talk to other people. I was really surprised at how much it was very, very similar to what we wrote 12 years ago. Make sure you're physically and mentally prepared, mentally fit. I think people should treat this as their Olympics or Super Bowl. This is a really big life experience. And though you don't need to be an Olympic athlete or a Super Bowl champion to fly into space, it helps to be fit. We have a comment?
Yeah.
Red Angel?
Original astronaut Neil Armstrong was better more than Ryan Gosling's first man. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. what comes after is rarely, you know, movies are rarely as good as the books, and the books aren't usually as good as the actual experience. So
well, and they have they're compelled to do drama for the audience so that they're
yeah.
anyway, yeah, not just physical fitness, mental fitness is key. True. Yeah. Did you have something?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I guess one of the biggest parts is the G-forces experience, launch, re-entry, and I've heard a bunch of people talk about this was kind of the hardest part, but we get that on a space flight or an airplane too. You have sort of a takeoff, and it feels funny, and a lot of people are very nervous about flying.
Yeah, and the G-forces are pretty intense though. So
yeah, he's saying it's probably not as hard as you think. Well, I think at first they didn't even know what it would take to, leave the planet.
And we're using longer burns now. The original, like Apollos, got as much acceleration right away as possible. I mean, those were hugely powerful rockets.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were squished on their way up.
Yeah, again, they didn't really know what it would take to leave the atmosphere. Apparently it's 3 Gs.
3.5.
3.5?
Something like that. So somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not as bad as they show in the movies either. Again, drama. You need drama.
Yep.
Yeah, to make it as comfortable as possible, you want to be physically relax your muscles so you don't fight against the G-forces. If you relax and let your body sink into the launch couch, you're going to tolerate it much better. You
know how they act in some of the early movies, how they showed the G-forces on the actors? They actually
air on them, probably.
Yes, they used compressed air to push their skin back.
I've seen some of that. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I really love this idea. Book a zero gravity flight. Yeah.
Yep.
Now it does take some money, but yeah, if you're gonna go anyway, you might as well get yourself as accustomed to the possibilities as you can.
And if you just want to feel 0G, the easiest thing that you can do is go on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
A lot of roller coasters do it. Bungee jumping, if you don't mind the fact that you're relying on the bungee to keep you from smacking into the rocks below.
There you go. Scuba dive training is good weightlessness training.
Yeah, except that
not exactly.
It's hard to swim in air. Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Although had one story where they really upped the air pressure so that with fins on your hands and feet, you could actually swim in it.
Oh, I see. I do like this part. Come up with a game plan for the few minutes that you have in space, especially for suborbital flight. You're really going to want to understand what you want to do. And he suggests looking out the picture, out the window. Sorry. They say taking pictures, but you're probably going to get that as part of your package. And looking out the window is going to be a little more, capturing the memories of it and having the experience. I think you would regret it if you got to the ground and you didn't spend a good bit of your time looking out the window. If you spent all
your time looking at your camera or phone and not looking out the window, yeah.
They do have some funny stories about a Beat Army sign in the window. So, yeah. All right, so the most important thing I would tell future astronauts is to savor the view out the window. There it is. For lack of a better term, it's God's eye view. And so few people have ever had a chance to see it. It's really a beautiful thing to be hovering in space and looking down at your planet. Yeah, that one list of all the people who've been out, it's not even 1,000. It's not even 1,000 people yet. Yep, don't worry about taking your own pictures. You'll probably get them. And he talks about the might feel a little bit dizzy, but again, short flight, not going to be too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you might be able to avoid it. The adrenaline and excitement are going to make you do okay, and by the time you might start feeling bad, you're coming back down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this was interesting. If you're spending a few days in space, be prepared for some bumps and bruises. Apparently, some of the newbies would push off too much. They'd give it too much force. And they run into stuff.
Right. Because they're used to working in water and you have to push against the water.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
But they're in air. I mean, it doesn't take much to move pretty darn fast.
Much less friction. Yeah, if you're going to be up there for a while, watch it. It was really funny to watch rookie astronauts the first day or two. You're also going to make a mess. This is for if you're there for a few days. Oh, we've got, yep. Oh, do we have a military family person here? Yeah. Like brushing your teeth, you might just have stuff all over and they want you to take care of it so it's not floating around in the cabin. Yeah, if you put your fork down, it's gonna float away. Yep, pay attention, take your training. If you're gonna do a spacewalk, they're much higher for you and your crew. Yeah, that's not gonna happen for a while. Zipping around in a jetpack. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a ways down the way. All right, so there's some pretty good stuff in this article, and this was Travel and Leisure. I really appreciated how kind of thorough they were.
Yeah.
And this was.
Why don't you pop the link?
Yeah, let me grab that for everybody. And they have another one about a mother and daughter, but I think you will see that in there, and you can go ahead and find it on your own because that's over here. But let's go ahead and talk about, Virgin Galactic. I guess they're still around. Maybe it was a change up in ownership because I think they only own 11.9% of it now. Anyway, what else do I have here? Oh, that's a pretty cool site. There's some really interesting things that happen when you play with this site. So, yeah, if you want to, virgingalactic.com, that's pretty cool. I do enjoy a couple of these other articles, too. Oh, got a Avada Kedavra. On this one, how astronauts prepare for the unknown in space. An interview with NASA's Victor Glover, another astronaut. And this was on space.com. Let me grab that for you, too.
And I tried to paste it in, but I'm working on a different computer, so that wouldn't work.
Good luck with that. Yeah, sometimes you got two keyboards and two mice going. Yeah, you get a little messed up. I thought this was pretty good, too. Let's see, what did he say that was a little different, maybe? That might be a good article. I didn't go look at that one. Yeah. What makes an astronaut? Yeah, he talks about psychological profile. And I don't think you have to worry about it too much if you pay to go. But if you wanted to be part of a crew, yeah, they want you to all get along and not throw anybody out the airlock because you're mad at them.
Right. Well,
that's a one-way trip.
Basically, submarine crews are a good, good thought about it.
Yep, that's exactly what he was talking about here, too.
Oh, Cliff says, oh, you will think bold, but I met the guy that suited up Neil. Spent half an hour talking to him. Neil was the calmest astronaut ever, he said. Now, does some fantastic hand-drawn art of NASA.
Oh, he does some.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, I think Glover talks about that in here.
Oh, okay. And Red Angel is apparently a fan of Victor Glover.
Okay. Yeah, there's just things about living in what we call ICE environment. Isolated, confined, extreme. People went over in Antarctica. People live on submarines or deploy in military. They you have to have metal. That's what they talk about. Again, I don't think that's a big concern if you're just going to go up and down or around and around a few times. But if it gets longer.
But you probably are not suited for being confined on a space station for a long duration if you're a pen clicker. If you're doing this all the time, someone's going to stuff you out the airlock.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with getting along, too. It's like we come from all kinds of different places, skill sets.
Yeah. But someone who has like a habit that other people can't stand is, not going to get along with them.
Yeah, I like this part, too. It's not going to be enough to make you a successful astronaut. So you really have to stretch personally and professional. I think that resilience, adaptability, and flexibility are important.
And, of course, this is early stages here. This is where the chosen few get to be astronauts.
And a healthy sense of humor. I like that.
Yeah. As it goes on, maybe, maybe those will be a little bit looser.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's ever going to be like he says, there's no standard missions. I mean, even if you just think about taking a trip or driving your car, every single time you go on the highway, you've got a different set of circumstances. It's raining, or it's not, or there's a big truck in front of you that just dumped his load all over the place. I mean, yeah.
Or someone's merging onto the highway and doesn't know where their accelerator is.
I think we'll just get used to the possibilities.
Yeah.
Like we do when we drive the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else do I have here? Yeah, I think there's some really great stuff in here with these articles. Oh, we got another one. Bam. This was from this was from Chris Hatfield. So again, really good stuff, and he does a masterclass too. Let me grab that one. Is that the one? Yeah. And attitude. So you can absolutely go and check out these articles for yourself. When I add them in, there should be a clickable link for you. We got a comment from Red Angel.
Oh, no. It's basically a repetition of...
Nope, there's another one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know really what you're saying here, Red Angel, but when astronaut Victor met Tom, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Tell us what you mean.
Yeah.
This class is for anyone who's interested in exploration and not just exploring space. So he's got a whole video series and some key points. You can start as an expert, but become a generalist. I thought there was good stuff in here. You can manage danger and do delicate tasks at the same time. And Hadfield's very, very popular, so I think this would be really good. He did create, and I think there's a picture over here. He created these. Oh, no, that's not the one. He created these kind of simple, easy to understand, kind of a flip book actually, with different things for different possibilities. Feels totally unreal. We got another one?
No. Basically another repetition.
Okay.
Really a fan of Victor Glover. Cliff says, I met hundreds of people in the States, probably 1,000 or so, and in Canada. Yep.
I can believe that. All right. So where's the flip? Where's the book he made? I thought this was kind of brilliant. Oh, I like this too. Visualize how Earth looks when you get ready for a spacewalk. Kind of put yourself in that mind. And he had a... It's like the next time you come out of the bathroom, you're standing on top of Mount Everest. I thought that was kind of neat. Oh, here it is. Here's his book. He made this for various, if something goes wrong, kind of things. And he would, procedures and safety protocols. So even though they could fill textbooks, he wanted to create a very simple, here's what you do in kind of pictures and very, very quick to understand. I think that was the main thing there. And I think there was I saw this and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Collaborate with us. Are you developing innovative ways to keep astronauts healthy and mission ready? Partner with NASA's Human Research Program, HRP. Check out information on Inspires and internships and explore our how-to guides for working with us. And that right there, that link goes over to this page. So even if you want to stay on the planet, if you want to stay earthbound, there's some opportunities.
Cliff has. Yeah, he talks a lot.
No, you don't talk a lot, do you?
We didn't see any of that while you were visiting us.
And it was really cool because just this morning I get this email from Amazon, 600 plus free technical training courses you can take through Amazon. And these are kind of cool. AI, machine learning, security, and other things. So yeah, I think one of the things you want to do is learn as much as possible so you can be that generalist and know a little bit about practically everything. I don't think it'll ever hurt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a summary, but we've covered a lot of this.
Yeah.
You want to read it or?
Yeah, yeah. Who needs what in the industry? One of the ways is to figure out what the various companies that are actually getting stuff into space need. Like, do they need, this chemical? Maybe you've sourced that chemical for them or something. I don't know.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Whatever it is. Do they need this size bolt? Make bolts. I don't think Elon Musk really wants to be in the bolt making business. So,
No.
Earn money. Well, because, money solves a lot of problems. And if you want to get into space, you can buy your way in. Space related games, we kind of talked about that already. Read science fiction, we talked about that. Explain something to others. I kind of got into that with the writing, but yeah.
And I wrote down teach too, because I think when you teach, you have to learn. You think about it in a different, from a different perspective. How am I going to get the people to understand this and enjoy it for themselves? That kind of thing.
Yeah, we have watch science fiction, which I didn't really cover because at the time that I wrote that, there weren't any really good hard science fiction shows out. And kind of arguably, The Expanse is another astronaut. But
you might be a fan
But Babylon 5 arguably had some hard science in it, but the show wasn't about the science of space. It was about other stuff that just happened in space. But The Expanse is more about the space travel itself.
That's kind of now. It wasn't when we wrote the articles.
Yeah. So Space Camp, there's a few of them out there. And watch our show.
Yeah, we might be in that business. You want to do this?
Sure. Some stellar events this week, August 30th through September 6th. The Globe at Night project is still going through September 4th. Look for Sagittarius in the southern hemisphere and Cygnus in the north. September 1st, Mercury and the moon are in conjunction. Mercury is 5 degrees south of the moon. Look for it in the morning. Now, they say that the binoculars help, but I don't know. Mercury is fairly easy to spot, maybe not against the light of the moon. Although won't be a whole lot of, maybe the binoculars are to spot the moon. Also, Uranus appears stationary, and the reason why I say binoculars are for spotting the moon is because September 2nd is new moon. So that's
so it's the very final day on the 1st.
Right, yeah. So
the moon is
going to be hard to Oh, here.
Yeah, well.
Daniel says donate to contraceptives to flat earth believers so they don't reproduce. Yeah, unfortunately it's a mind virus. They make more. They don't need to they don't need they infect people. They don't produce offspring necessarily.
He has another comment. Which, yes, absolutely. That hasn't happened yet. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Soon. Sorry.
Did you finish this one? I don't know. I don't know where you are.
Yeah, new moon. Oh, and also on September 2nd, it's Labor Day in the U.S.
Labor Day.
So most people aren't working that day. September 4th, moon is on the equator. And Mercury is at its greatest eastern elongation at 18.1 degrees west of the sun. Don't look 18 degrees west of the sun. It's 18.1 degrees.
Oh, boy.
Which is about the distance of the gray on your fingernail, tip of your fingernail. And the moon is at apogee. And also, Venus and the moon are in conjunction.
Did you read that one? I think you missed it.
Oh, moon is at descending node. Oh.
September 5th.
Oh, I missed September 5th.
Yes.
The moon is at descending node. And the moon is at apogee. Also, Venus and the moon are in conjunction, and Venus is 1.2 degrees north of the moon. Look for it in the evening, and the moon will be 3 days old, so not much of a moon there. But
it is in the evening in the west.
Yeah. Daniel says Big Ham Expo tomorrow at Cal State Channel Islands. Oh.
What's it called?
Yeah.
Did you see this one yet?
Yes.
Yes.
September 6th, Spica is 0.6 degrees south of the moon. Occultation is visible from northeastern North America, and it's also in the evening. The moon is 4 days old. Makes sense because the previous day it was 3 days old.
Yes.
Also on October 6th, Friday night show, looking at a citizen science project for next week. Find us Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel.
What inspires you the most for the coming week? So if you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, September the 6th. Jeff takes point on the Daily Minor Planet from the Catalina Sky Survey. That's a Zooniverse project. Our favorite place, Zooniverse, for citizen science.
Yep. Angel.
I don't know. And we've got, Cliff's got one too.
Yeah, Cliff. And it's the last day
winter.
of winter. Well, for them. It's summer for us. He's in the southern hemisphere.
We don't have a.
Because it's cold for them.
I know, but it's not. Okay.
And it's 95.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Jeez.
You know.
Well, I'm glad.
He's
He's
basically in Florida in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah. Glad that's not Celsius, man.
Yeah, they'd be melting.
Was yesterday as well going to be a hot summer if there's a spring. Yeah.
And Daniel.
The last 3 years, the board net group has been holding our monthly U-Field Day.
No,
microfield. Yeah. Microfield Day.
Oh, I see. So there's
in Ventura County, where hams from all over can get together for informal portable operations. Nice. Cool.
Okay. All right. So we should do a shout out. Daniel was here and Cliff was here and Red Angel. Thanks for joining us. I know.
Janie was here.
Janie was here. Scott was here.
Yep.
I wonder if Dawn is okay.
I didn't. Yeah, didn't see her.
We didn't see her. Did we get everybody?
Yeah.
Scott, Janie.
Yep.
Awesome, folks. We really love your participation. It makes a huge difference for us. We hope you have a really great weekend and a very nice holiday weekend. Nice week, holiday weekend. And yeah, we'll see you on Friday. Oh, we got another one.
Oh.
Real quick.
Florida.
Oh, Florida.
Oh, he did it for us in Fahrenheit. That's what he said.
Fahrenheit. Yes. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So good night. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Good night. Have a good one, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.